Right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our weekly webinar. The new day gun has just gone off in our Cape Town studio, and we're thrilled to kick off yet another insightful webinar session. I'm Neil Peterson. I'm the founder and content-in-chief of Real Estate Investor, South Africa's premier independent real estate news content and education platform since 2007. And at REI, we are immensely passionate about serving the South African real estate investor and the South African real estate business community through our online digital platform, rei.co.za, and our monthly digital magazine, Real Estate Investor, and REI's virtual webinars and our in-person seminars and conferences. And today I have the pleasure of serving as your host and moderator for our investment webinar, and we're really thrilled to have you join us for this insightful session. Today's topic is property rockstars reveal their investment success secrets. And reason is why they are rockstars is that they are all esteemed prize winners of the annual Investor of the Year Awards. So before I introduce you to our rockstar panelists and delve into discussion, first some housekeeping. And I do extend a warm invitation to you, our faithful attendees, to actively engage with us during the webinar. Your participation enriches our dialogue, so please feel free to ask any questions you may have for our panelists. And to ask a question, please utilize the designated Q&A box located on the bottom of your screen, not the chat box that is reserved for general comments. Rest assured, all of your questions will be addressed during the Q&A panel discussion in our final session. And recordings of today's webinars will be accessible post-event via email if you have registered for this event. For those who have not registered for the webinar, the recordings are accessible on the rei.co.za website under events on the homepage. So let's move on to the heart of today's webinar. Property rockstars reveal their investment success secrets, and this is a prelude that sets the stage for the Investor of the Year Awards 2024 that takes place on Saturday, the 14th of September from 6 o'clock until late at the Great Hall, Shipston Gardens in Mountain View in Johannesburg. And first up, I'd like to introduce you to Kali Masiwani, who heads up the proceedings of the Investor of the Year, also heads up the judging panel. And that's quite a job that you're doing there, Kali. And so wonderful having you here. And you just want to share with the audience as to what the Investor of the Year Awards is all about and how everybody can get involved.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for that, Neil. And thank you, for inviting me. I want to say hello to all the viewers, and also please ask any questions you want for Invest of the Year Award. Yes, so Invest of the Year Award started in 2018 with an initiative by our CEO Andrew Walker, who is the CEO of the SA Properties Investors Network, and he wanted to recognize and award and reward property investors doing phenomenal work in the property space in South Africa. And as such, this is our fourth year running. We're going to be, as you mentioned, at the Shipston Gardens in Houghton. It's an exquisite venue. It's a black tie gala dinner event where you'll be rubbing shoulders with industry execs and CEOs, where we will crown the new Investor of the Year award. It happens to be the most exclusive property award in the country, and I'm very proud of that. So you still have time to enter. Entrance time for entries and at the 31st of July. And after that, unfortunately, you will not be able to enter. However, just as a little teaser, one of the main prizes is 20,000 Rand cash and a what's this? A weekend away at Plesjesburg in Bakubung. So it's one of the many, many, many prizes that we have. So yes, please ask any questions that you have regarding Invest of the Year award.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sounds exciting.
Yes.
Really look forward to it. So if everybody wants to get involved, you want to attend or purchase a ticket or book a table, then you just go to where it's investoroftheyear.co.za website.
Yes. So the website www.investoroftheyear.awards.com, but we are on all socials. So we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. It's Investor of the Year Awards, and you will find the link to our website on all of our socials.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thanks very much, Kali. I think we will promote that link again right at the end. So thank you very much, and great actually having you here today to announce it. And it's wonderful having all these wonderful, what we call property rock stars that's going to be on today. So yes, so moving on to our webinar topic for today, we will discuss the secrets of success. You can maybe switch off just your cam there, Kali, and then we'll see
No
you a bit
problem.
later And so we're going to discuss, obviously, our previous winners have excelled in their property investment journeys, and they will share some insights as to how you can also be a successful and profitable real estate investor. So without further ado, please let me introduce you to our esteemed guest panelists today. Our first guest panelist, and I see he's checked in very quickly, is Darren Francis. I see Darren, welcome. I know there were some issues on logging in. We apologize for that, but you've arrived, and that's the most important, is that you are here. And so for those of you who don't know Darren, he's the winner of the 2023 Investor of the Year Awards. He's a publicist, property investor in the affordable sector, and now also a property author. Welcome to you, Darren, and would you like to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Darren Francis, and Neil put it, an author, property investor, an award-winning property investor, and also a publicist as well. So yeah, I'm glad to be here, and welcome to my esteemed guest as well.
Awesome. Great having you here, Darren. And then, of course, our second guest is Robin Booth. He's the winner of the Property Investor Awards in 2028. He's a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, real estate investor, and coach. He focuses more on Airbnb investments. He's also an award-winning investor as well. So he's shared the stage with A-listers, experts in property, business, automation, and financial freedom. Welcome to you, Robin. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be back here again and with you. I see someone just turned my camera off, so let me just turn that back on. There we go. Yes, so really good to be here, and of course to share nuggets and insights to support any kind of investor out there, whether it is that you're starting and you're just so nervous for your first run, or whether you actually have a good number under your belt and looking to expand, or looking for creative ways to unlock new strategies, whether it be student housing, multi-lets, normal buy-to-let, Airbnb, rent-to-rent Airbnb, buy-to-rent on Airbnb. I mean, there's such a wide range, and I've got them all under my belt. As you said, it's I've been around for a while, and I love exploring really creative strategies that everyone can use in all economic ranges, whether you're super wealthy and have big pockets, or whether you're just starting and saying, I don't have the capital to put down for a big property. Well, there are other opportunities, like we chatted, rent-to-rent Airbnb. So there is a whole lot of stuff, and I'll be glad to share all those kinds of things. And I think my first insight, because I know we're preluding this to Investor of the Year Award, and there's so many people who are like, well, this must just be for the famous and the experienced. Totally contrary to that. This is for a wide range, and I'm sure you're going to open up the different categories. But the main thing that I took away from when I won many years back was, in real estate and actually in business, people are saying, what's most important is who you know. And that's not the actual key to success. It's who knows you. That is where we really start to leverage and make a difference, because now the agents are going to bring you properties. The investors are going to find you and say, wow, we see you doing such great things. I'd love to be part of it. So we're going to turn that around and say it's not just who you know, it's who knows you. And there is nothing like the platform that we're talking about today, Investor of the Year Award, for startups and experienced people, where that is just so true. So I'm incredibly grateful to be here today, and for my experience of being part of this competition process. And I'm absolutely game to share anything and everything to motivate people to join in and participate.
Wonderful. Great having you again here, Robin. And then our third guest, last but not least, is Dana Bunzaya. He's the winner of the 2019 Investor of the Year Awards. He's a physiotherapist by profession. He's from Bloemfontein and a student accommodation investor. Welcome to you, Dana. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, Neil. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes. As you said, I'm a physiotherapist here from Bloemfontein, but I like to say that I'm actually a professional property investor with a big heart for property, and not just for property, for other people. It's not about myself and what I can do. It's all about adding value and changing other people's lives and making the world a better place. What Robin said, I'd like to add on, is that it isn't necessarily about who you know, but who knows you. And I must say that this competition really puts you in a position where you get some credibility and people are willing to listen to you and are willing to open up their pockets to join in investment. I don't think that people should be afraid or shy. They should really be willing to show their deals and participate in this, because it also forces you to grow and be able to look at your deals in different ways so that you're able to present it to other people. Thanks, Neil.
Awesome. Great having you here today, Donna. So I'm going to start off with you. You guys can all leave your cams on. It's fine because this is a discussion. So Robin, you can switch on your cam, and then of course, Darren, you can switch on you because I'm actually going to ask you first. So you can leave the cams on now. It is a discussion. So you just need to switch on. There we go. Thank you. Now you got a nice little background there, Darren. So welcome. So Darren, let's start off with you. Maybe just share a little bit of a brief overview of your journey into real estate investing, leading up to obviously your recognition as Investor of the Year. I mean, surely after that, I would think that possibly even changed your life to some extent. You're on mute there, Darren. You're on mute. Just need to unmute yourself.
My apologies. I'm
We
only
can hear you now.
42, technically challenged. So yeah. But my journey really started in 2009. I was introduced to a book by Chase. It was called "How to Make Money Out of Property in South Africa" by Jason. And that book changed my life completely. Coming from the Cape Flat, I did not know how to make money. I know money was there, but you know, we struggled to survive on the Cape Flat, and that was my beginning. And somehow being introduced to this book opened a whole new world for me. From there, I began a strategy, studying various strategies, studying various people, asking questions, you know, and unfortunately, Chapin wasn't around then to assist me, because otherwise I would have tapped into that specific avenue. And in 2018, 2019, it took me a long time because I needed to build credit score, needed to build education, etc. And in 2018, I got my first investment property, 2019, and I started flipping properties. And from there, when I made my first flip, I made 357,000 rand in profit. And I discovered, hey, this strategy actually works. All my hard work and education, you know, really it's working. And I literally just rinse and repeat. And I entered the Sapin competition with a goal of rubbing shoulders with like-minded people. Because coming from the Cape Flat, you really don't know people that invest in property, you know. And my goal was to rub shoulders with like-minded individuals, and hopefully meeting the likes of Dana, Robin, and Andrew. You know, because I'm a firm believer that anywhere that if you want to start anything, you know, your education is a vital platform for you to start any business. And from there, I've now flipped lots of properties. I've met incredible individuals. I've now become a semi-finalist, a finalist in this competition. And I'm seeing guys, and I'm learning a lot as we go along. So I remember a boy from the Cape Flats, all of a sudden in the space of 18 months, my education level just went from here to, you know, it went up 10, 15 notches just by speaking to other like-minded individuals. And that was the kind of platform that would happen. They allowed us to build ourselves on. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's my journey.
All right, wonderful. I think it's a wonderful story, Darren, and I think that you know, you're now a published author. See, I know you just launched your book and everything, and we'll talk a little bit about that a bit later. So, and I'm sure everybody would want to read that book and, you know, to get to know your story just a little bit more. But yeah, so let's move on to you, Robin. And let's talk about what initially motivated you to pursue real estate investing. And also 2018, when you won the award, you were in a very different space of real estate, and you kind of moved now into Airbnb. So maybe just talk about how you've transformed there.
Neil, I fell into real estate. It wasn't my initial first goal. And I qualified as a preschool teacher. So the first male preschool teacher in South Africa to qualify, and I started teaching, and I was very excited about that. And then I got to a point where I said I want to open my own school, and I needed land. So I became a property investor because I needed to open up a school, and I bought 2 hectares of land in Cape Town and opened up my school. And I worked hard not only to build a school, but to build enough income in the school so I could pay the bond for the land that I had just bought and rented from them. And after a while, I realized that this is really hard work to do both, to try and create a business and then get that to pay the land. And later on, a couple of years later, I sold the school and realized now it's their job to raise the rent so that they can pay me as a landowner. And the penny dropped. And I realized this is a much better model. Rather create something that someone needs, and they're going to pay me for investing in that piece of land. And that changed everything for me. And from there, my story was then, traditional real estate investing is too slow for me, to be honest. It's a long-term game, and I've got no problem with long-term, but I want much bigger gains much earlier. So I was looking at student housing, the multi-lets, as well, some of the commercial buildings and properties. And that's how I started and got into it and really got my teeth into automations and systems, because a lot of people say it's about how much money you make. Well, in student housing, for example, it's how much money you keep, because you make a lot at the beginning with the income, but if you don't manage your utilities and all those varying expenses of 10-month leases or 12-month leases or NASFAS or a whole lot of stuff, you're going to lose all that income that you get. And as you correctly said, by the time when I won one of the applications or one of the properties that I submitted was, wow, actually rent-to-rent Airbnb is fantastic, where I just go and rent from a landlord, put it on Airbnb, and the income I generate from Airbnb is 2 to 3 times the amount of what my rental is to the landlord, and that's profit for me. And that changed the game for me, especially in Cape Town, but at the same time, Airbnb is successful throughout the world. And so although I've kept my other properties because I'm in for the long haul, the Airbnb model is one which is so much easier to start. Of course, you need good education. We all know that. Otherwise, you're going to make the silly mistakes. But the way to start that, to grow it, and to get incredible assets and to live for free, and there's a story around that. That for me was just so exciting. So you're 100%, that's where it is. And I think the key to a lot of that success is always having that open mind to what else could there be? What else could I do? And even though you might not know now what it takes to do that, it's still worth your while to explore what is possible out there. And when the penny drops in all the different areas, like Airbnb, for example, then that's just a whole new game. And then people go and, there's opportunity there. So yep, that brings us to today, and that's my primary focus. Although as all the other properties, I can buy prime properties on beachfront in Cape Town and have them cash flow positive because of Airbnb, which you're lucky if you've got even close to like a 6% yield, whereas we're surpassing that.
No, wonderful. I think there's some really good nuggets of advice there that you've given the Robin, that I think people, you've piqued their interest, cash flow positive beachfront properties, etc., and how you've moved. But you've definitely given some great insights there. Donna, let's get to you. Now, you're a physiotherapist by profession. I mean, you're sitting also in Bloemfontein. Now, Bloemfontein, one of the biggest cities of South Africa. But maybe just share, and what's wonderful to say that, well, there's a lot going on in Bloem, and you've got that as your home, and you've got great success. So share your journey into real estate, and also, you won the award in 2019. and what also initially motivated you to get into the industry from being a physiotherapist?
Thanks, Neil. Neil, to be honest, I'm a very plain, straightforward guy. I grew up in Bethlehem, in the Eastern Free State. My dad was in the military, and that was the future I had. I thought I was going to go into the military, but my dad went on early pension, and I was exposed to something different. I realized I could do something different. I wanted to make a difference in other people's lives, and that's when physiotherapy came across my path. And then I started working as a physio, but realized that yes, I'm working as a physio and the bank balance looks all right, but there's no time to do anything. And that's when, believe it or not, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad of Robert Kiyosaki, and that's where it started. A lot of people say you can't invest like Robert says in Rich Dad Poor Dad because you're in South Africa. I can honestly say that's not true, because those principles are which I use right up to today. Bloemfontein, being also in the city, center of the country, relying very much on agriculture, has also got a very strong tertiary education history with the University of the Free State and the Central University of Technology and the Mateo colleges which are here. And I looked for property investment which could be cash flow positive. I started investing in 2008 in student accommodation, believe it or not, and slowly but surely built the portfolio from there to where I'm now, where I house about 300 students in Bloemfontein every night. I feel personally it's not just about me and myself and what I do, but I know I provide safe, affordable accommodation to the future of our country within walking distance of the tertiary institutions, where they are able to not just change their own lives, but I know that they are going to better South Africa for the whole.
Okay, wonderful. I think wonderful. I think it's you just found that niche, that golden niche that fits into your strategy. And yeah, it's a common story that I've heard over the years. I think many of us got into property. Robert Kiyosaki read his book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
I think there's a common theme that goes through a lot of investors there. It's unbelievable, the impact. I mean, I've interviewed him probably 6, 7, 8 times, and actually seen him all around the world in my early part of the career, which actually got me to start this magazine, Real Estate Investor. So that's also my inspirational story for many years. And but anyway, so I want to get to your story, and coming back to you, Darren. Let's talk about a little bit more technical stuff about strategies and that kind of stuff. So let's talk about what are the key factors or strategies that have contributed most to your success in real estate investment. I mean, maybe describe one of your more sort of memorable deals or projects that you think significantly impacted your investment career. You're probably on mute, Darren.
Sorry. Coincidentally, I also read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I support what Dana says. You can use it in everyday life, and to some degree, I've used that as well. I think one of the more memorable deals is my first deal, my first love. Buying a dilapidated house. In real estate, they say when the numbers make sense. When the numbers are numbering, you should jump at it. And for me at the time, being a newbie, being very green in the process, I knew at that time, and there was Robert Kiyosaki deals with. He talks a lot about cash flow, and makes mention of cash position. And I knew I needed to get to a point where, or choose which avenue I'm going to go. Am I going to grow my cash flow or my cash position? Now, being from the Cape Flats, I knew having access to money is something that's a challenge. And if I can work on that, having large sums of cash would be ideal. I knew the flipping strategy would work well for me, because you can get in buy the property, use the bank's money or OPM, other people's money, and hopefully renovate and make some money out of that. And my first deal offered me that avenue where I could get into a property quick and leave, but it wasn't as easy as I'm saying. There were evictions involved. There were horrifying stories about that particular building or house that I bought. The previous owner was murdered in that house. So it was a house of horrors. You could stand by the front door. I remember one of the Standard Bank valuators came to come and value that property, and he stood at the front door and he said, "This is not even a place for my dog to live." So you can imagine what that place looked like. But fortunately for us, I had a vision and I had the determination to prove people wrong, and especially that valuator. And the funniest part about all of that was when we got ready to sell that property, the same valuator came out again. So the client, I'm not going to mention the bank, the clients were approved by a certain blue bank, and that same valuator came through. And he got out and he recognized me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm back at the same property." And he went in and he looked around and he stood in the kitchen, and he was pacing up and down. "Are you okay?" And he said, "Look, I know I was at this house. Is this the same house?" And he looked bewildered and he's pacing, going into the rooms again, and he walks out, he goes, sits in his car. I was like, "Oh God, I think this guy probably has flashbacks of the previous house." And he comes in again and he's like, "No, I have to look at the property one more time just to make sure that I'm not dreaming." So I asked him, "So what's happening?" He says, "No, I can't believe that I'm in the same building that I came to come and visit, where I told you it's not fit for a dog to live." And he told me, "You know what, I can't discuss price with you or disclose anything like that. But even if you ask way more than what you asked, I would have approved it because of what this house looks like today. I would never say this house was a house of horror." And for me, that was one of the standout things, and something encouraging, because I went on to basically rinse and repeat that thing, that particular strategy, and it changed a lot of people's lives. It literally, besides employing people, it changed my life as well, because like Robert described in his book, once you have large amounts of cash, you are able to access other things, and that in fact, more cash allowed me to access more debt.
Wonderful.
And that was one of the great things about that journey.
Right. One man's meat is another man's poison, as they say. So you get a property and you actually saw the other side of it. So you saw the opportunity. So Robin, coming back to you now, and I'm going to ask you the same question: the key factors or strategies that have contributed most to your success, and maybe also one of your more memorable investment deals or projects that you think really sort of impacted you, took you to sort of next level. And I know you did share some already, but maybe just take us through that.
So Neil, I mean, it's such a great segue to what I think every person, this isn't just the so-called property investor who wants to go out there and make money, but every person aspires to live in a better place. And the challenge often is, well, they can't afford to. And that was how I started my Airbnb journey. I'm a kite surfer. in Cape Town, if you want to kite surf, you either really need to be in the Blouberg side, or you perhaps are in the deep south in the Kommetjie side. And I'd been there, and I loved Blouberg, and I thought, well, that would be great. And I want to be at my computer, my working space, look out of my window on the beach, see if the wind is there, and if it's there, head out. But I couldn't afford to do that. And I tell the story that I thought, well, at least let me go look. Let me go look to see what I have to work so hard at my other job to be able to afford to live on the beach, even just renting. And we met with an agent, walked inside this beachfront 4-bedroom house. I was like, oh, nice views. And at that point, the agent had said, listen, we can only go in at a certain time because there are kite surfers who are renting it out for that 2-week period. And I said, like, well, what is this? How you mean the kite surfers come in, they rent out, and then that's it? And she said, yes. And I calculated, she told me how much those kite surfers were paying just for that 2-week period. And I said, listen, if I can do something similar, but I'll use Airbnb, then I can actually pay for this, because that extra income is going to subsidize my rental, and I can pay what I can, and then I'm going to use the difference to give the landlord what they want. I'm not even going to negotiate with the landlord. If they allow me to do this, then that's great. And the landlord said sure, because he was going to get his money. And in that first year, that's what we did. We just rented out the house in 2 weeks, and we went and lived somewhere else for that period of time. And then we thought, wow, this is actually really good. How about if we just rent the room in the house that faces the beach, and we just let the guests come in from the different entrance, so they don't come into our house or across our house. And we put it on Airbnb, just that room, like no kitchenette, just the room with an ensuite bathroom. And that room alone paid for 75% of the whole year's rent of the 4-bedroom house, which we would use 3 bedrooms because the guest would use the single one. When that penny dropped, and we had the whole house rented out over Christmas, which not only paid for the remaining 25% of the rent, but also paid for us to go overseas for that 2-week period that we were renting out the whole house, it was like living for free. So for someone listening to this, you don't have to be a property investor who's looking for a side hustle of money. You can live for free in an area that you cannot afford to if you're clever, strategic. Whether it's a granny flat, it could be a room, it could be, you're converting a garage. One of my clients has converted a double garage into 2 separate Airbnb units, and that pays basically for a bond of a whole house. Like, for me, my mind just went, whoa, this is amazing. And I think it's along those lines. And of course, all those learnings, the first apartment we rented, like, okay, we got it. It was empty. We had to fork out 70,000 Rand back in those days to furnish it. And yes, we made our money back. And then we realized, well, why are we renting unfurnished apartments? Why don't we rent furnished apartments? Then we don't have to put down that extra cash. And then we were like hitting profits from day one. And it just, that whole mindset and understanding, and again, it's education, it's insights. It just was totally, riveting, the whole journey. And of course, anyone who's listening now can literally start that, as opposed to having to do 6 years of hard slog that I had to do to figure it out. And then you get going. And I mean, that's what excites me. I mean, people who are listening here could literally from next month be living in a new place, in a lovely place. It doesn't have to be a beachfront. It could be somewhere, in Joburg that you really like, I'm not familiar with all the fancy, Joburg places, but people are doing that all around. Whether it's actually here in Cape Town, Stellenbosch, got a lot who are living there and doing Airbnb. So it's super exciting that there's clever strategies out there. Whether you want to earn more money, whether you want to increase your asset portfolio, or you just want to live for free or live in a beautiful place and still pay the same amount of rent where you're living now. That's just a game changer.
Wonderful. I think it's such great insight there, Robin, because I think you peaked once again. You've got everybody sort of looking up at the edge of their seat. I want that. I want to get into Vault. I mean, it's such a sound strategy. And I think what's key, you mentioned there, it took you 6 years of hard slog, so don't forget that. So a lot of people want sort of immediate success. There's a success thing. I want it right now. I want it now. And
but with the right education, you can get that now. There's no other model where you can get that education in literally 1 weekend, 1 week, by doing like an Airbnb course, an advanced course, and you can because we know we've seen clients, students do exactly that literally from that very short period of time, they're cash flow positive. I don't know any other model, because all those other ones that, it takes so long to transfer a property, let alone find the right one. This is a way different model. And of course, if someone says you're renting an apartment and it doesn't work, well, you trigger the Consumer Protection Act and you exit. You give them notice, I need to terminate early. There are ways that you can avoid paying penalties, which we share. And suddenly the risk is so low, it's mitigated. And that's why this is so great for the startup investor, or for someone who says, I'm keen, let's see where it goes.
Wonderful. I think you can welcome to share, that course that you do run, certainly on Airbnb at the end. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that would be interested in that. Donna, your side now, so what are your key factors or strategies? You've alluded to it a little bit, to your success, and maybe also describe one of your more memorable deals or projects that you think was a game changer.
To start off, I must say there, Robin beat me. It took him only 6 years. It took me about 9 years and 7 months from my start to where I was able to fully replace my income as a physiotherapist. And please note that I owned the biggest practice of physiotherapy in Bloemfontein at the time. And I was able to, within less than 10 years, replace my income as a physiotherapist through student accommodation. Now, I read and I educate myself a lot. Even now, I'm currently reading books. I also read the Real Estate Investor Mag on a weekly basis.
Oh, wow.
And I came across a book by Ria Brent, Refinance, Repeat. And it explains the whole process about buying distressed property, fixing it up, refinancing it, and renting it out. And I must say that that's been a big game changer for me in what I do. So what I aim at doing is buying property which is below market value, in the region of 60% of the market value, fixing it up. I usually buy it cash, usually with an investor's money, and buy the property cash, fix it up, refinance to pay back the investor, put the surplus in my pocket, and then I rent it out at a surplus each and every month to my tenants, which are students, most of them. And you asked specifically of an example I have just down the road from where I'm currently sitting. There's an area, it's called Willows in Bloemfontein. It's around the Central University of Technology. There isn't any open piece of earth. Currently, the only piece of earth that there is in the market for 10 million rand. For Bloemfontein, that's a lot of money. I'm not in Cape Town where I think prices are crazy, but that's all that's available. And there was a auction that came up of a gentleman that passed away, and he's got 2 adjacent properties. We owned 2 adjacent properties. And 6 months before it passed away, he was offered 4 million rand for both properties combined. I decided on the day to go and look at the auction. I didn't think I'd buy anything. I was just hanging around looking at who's around. And seeing as though I attend the sheriff auctions, I recognized many faces, knowing that these guys have big pockets. I thought these properties are going to go for a crazy price. To cut a long story short, I ended up buying one of the properties totally unexpectedly for 1,275,000 rand. The other sale went for cheaper, and that sale fell through the mat, and the people contacted me directly, and I ended up buying both properties combined for less than 2 million rand, and fixing it up, putting tenants, and it's currently making a huge surplus. And these both properties are commercial properties which are fully tenanted, making money. And this was done in COVID, when everyone was thinking everything's flat and there's nothing to do. And this, I must say, is a heartwarming story to think that even in times when things are going rough, you can make a success.
Yeah, wonderful. I think it's just fascinating listening to all of your stories and all your discussions, and we can understand why you guys were winners. Really, I think it really is, and it's really ideas and creative thinking, and really, I think you've done that to the best degree. And once again, to our audience, I see the questions are coming through. Please, I encourage you to ask questions to our panelists over there. I see there are quite a few that we will deal with at the end. And so please do that. So Darren, maybe coming back to you, let's talk a little bit about risk management, and also learning from challenges or setbacks, because it's not always, perfume and roses, isn't it? It's kind of, so there's setbacks, and there's mini setbacks, and there's bigger setbacks, and there's challenges and all that things along the way. So maybe how do you approach the risk management side of real estate investing, and the lessons you've learned from dealing with challenges and those setbacks?
It's a very good question. I think it is in any sphere of business, there's going to be a fair amount of risk that you have to undertake. But it's how and what mitigating factors you put in place to limit that risk. So for me, there was one particular deal where I was going to make between 300,000 and 400,000 rand profit. And I looked at this particular property. It was a flip. I looked at this property. I bought it at the right price. And for me, going into a deal, even before I go and view, I already have done my homework, looked at all the risk factors that could potentially, be a problem for me or bring my profits down. And I would look at a whole host of risk factors, and then ask myself, look at what is the risk to reward ratio. And if it meets, that band that I set for myself for that particular deal, that would then enable me to or inform my decision whether I'm going to pull the trigger or not. And this particular deal, I went in and I knew the numbers were great. It was great. And I was like, you know what? Even at the sale price, I'm already making money. And we went in. I did get the property for about 30,000 rand less than what I earmarked, and which was good. I saw the property required quite a lot of work. And yeah, when the people moved out, oh guys, the amount of problems that we did not perfect, wow, it was huge. And instead of just spending 100, I think it was 120,000 rand in terms of renovation that I was going to spend at the time, I ended up spending 227,000 in terms of renovation, because it required that much work. But where the risk factor comes in, I was able to use or to make that 100,000 rand, 107,000 rand, available, because I knew when I signed the OTP, based on my risk to reward ratio, I knew there was a big gap for me, and we could absorb those costs and still make a decent amount of profit in that particular deal. And it's very very important when you flip property, or even when you build. So that's the last development I did. You need to ensure you stick within the parameters that you set yourself. Risk is foreseeable and unforeseeable. Sometimes you need to go in with the eyes wide open and ask yourself a lot of questions. I think I got a very good advice. This person told me, don't force the numbers. Don't force the deal to make it work. If it doesn't work, walk away. There's many. So that's my
Excellent. Great. Thanks for that, Darren. So I'm going to pose the same question to you as well, Robin and Donna, just in terms of risk management in real estate investing, the lessons you've learned from dealing with challenges, setbacks, and the mini ones that you sort of get out the way. Robin, over to you.
Yeah, Neil, I think let's first understand what risk means. And for me, risk is interpreted as it's a solution to a problem you haven't found yet. So risk is a solution, well, mitigating the risk, it basically implies you don't have a solution for a problem that you might have later. If you solve the problem, your risk obviously decreases, but also understanding in property investing, if you have a solution, money goes to where solutions are. And that is so, so important. I mean, there's so many examples, but let's just take student housing, for example. There are so many like student houses where the electricity and the water, which is included in the rent, are so exorbitant because there's no way of controlling that. Even if you have a meter which reads how much water and electricity you're using, that still doesn't mean a good control process. So for there, I did a whole lot of research, found that you can get solenoids that have control boxes, and each student gets a card that they tap, and that can be set to the shower then comes on for 6 minutes. Shower comes on for once a day, or you can have it going on twice a day, or the student can actually tap and recharge their card like you would any other service, and that would add credit to their shower. So in this way, you're suddenly controlling the variables, which if you can't control, you can't predict what your profits are going to be. And that's risk. In the Airbnb world, it's the same kind of scenario. We want to make sure that if we're renting from a landlord and we want to exit because maybe it doesn't work or because of various different reasons, can we foresee that and put things in place? And for me, I realized in one situation, I said I'd like to exit, and they said, well, there's a whole lot of penalties. And I said, well, what happens if I found you, because I'm a property professional, what happens if I found you another tenant that as I exited, they came in and therefore you wouldn't lose rent? And the landlord said, yeah, because that's what it's about. The landlord doesn't want to lose money. So now in all of my leases, I say, in the event that I wish to terminate early, if I find a subsequent vetted tenant by a reputable estate agent, because I've had it before that the landlord, I found them a tenant, and the landlord said, no, I don't accept this person. And that was because they wanted more money, not because the tenant wasn't actually appropriate. That's when I then inserted the clause that is vetted by an appropriate or a suitable estate agent, that if they replace or cede my lease, take over my lease, then with no loss of income to the landlord, there are no penalties incurred to me. It changed that risk, because now it's not a risk anymore for me if I want to terminate early. So I'm always about finding ways to mitigate those challenges and those problems. And the moment you do, then the money flows to you. The same way in the student housing at the moment for me in Cape Town, with our load shedding, it's significant. So what do? I put in solar power. Yes, it's expensive. I must be one of the only people in that suburb that have solar, but I strategically have that in my advertisements that says, you guys are working 4 years of your life to get a degree. What would happen if 2 of those years, it's 50% of your time, is lost because you can't go online and do your work? Well, you're just wasting your money. So why not pay a couple of $1,000 extra in your rent, and you have continual power the whole time? And that was now a solution that people were looking for, because students can't not work if they're studying and there's no power. So again, solutions, and the risk is mitigated. And of course, I always say, that's where the money goes. And yeah, there.
Refreshing advice there, Robin. I think really good, and very different with a solutions orientated approach.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the same question to you, Donna, in terms of risk management and, dealing with challenges or setbacks.
It's a funny question that you have. One of the attendees and I had a chat earlier in the week via WhatsApp specifically about risk. And my view on risk, and if you compare it to returns, is actually quite controversial. I personally believe, or in general, it's believed the higher the risk, the higher your returns are. But I believe totally different. I believe that the lower the risk, the higher your returns are. And the reason I say this is because the way I invest, I have minimal money in any investments of my own, which means I am at risk of losing very little. So in other words, the lower my risk, the higher my return. And that's what I believe, and I strongly believe, and that's how I invest. But you specifically asked about challenges. Here in Bloemfontein, recently in the areas where the students are living, we've had a lot of pushback from the residents, the usual residents in the areas, and especially with regards to noise, walking in the streets. It's in general very busy. What I have found for myself is that if you have a hands-off approach to student accommodation, you are really letting yourself in for a lot of trouble. So I try and control how my students act as far as I possibly can through my rental agreement and my managing agent. We have very specific rules as to how they are allowed to go about their doings. And specifically with regards to parties, because we've had lots of issues with parties at other student houses in the area, they're not allowed to have parties. If they do have a party, they are penalized. The second penalty is high, and by the third penalty, they should move out of my property. And once a year, I've learned in one of my places they will have a party, but they will get punished too. And then it's like the message runs to the rest of my places. Oh no, you can't have a party. That which he says he's going to do in his rental agreement, he does. So it doesn't help you have rules, but they're not enforced, is what I've learned. And we've got to realize that in the end, students are children. Excuse me for the lack of a better word, but
Yeah.
you've got to educate them about what the right thing is to do. And that's what I feel is how I try and keep my challenges to a minimum.
Yeah, great. No, excellent. I think it's it's critically important in that particular sector to handle it that way. Thank you for that, Donna. Okay, we're getting into the
Thank you.
Q&As. I see there's quite a few questions here, which is really good. Thank you, guys. So, Robin, there's a lot for you, I see, certainly in terms of Airbnb. How did you find landlords willing to sublease units for Airbnb?
So the numerous different ways. I share a lot of them, as you mentioned, Neil, in the coaching and courses that I have. The fundamentals are understanding that what we're looking for is a landlord that is just open to a conversation. And in this way, one of the filters that I put, and I look on Property24, Gumtree, your private property, is if there is the box that says listed by the owner, I will have a greater chance of being able to speak directly to the owner, because a lot of estate agents just kind of say, well, our agency doesn't do Airbnb, so straight away they shut it down, regardless of whether they've actually spoken to the owner or not. So that would be my first port of call, is engaging directly with the owner. What I have found subsequently, though, is that what is best is, instead of going to view a property and then dropping a bombshell on the agent who is there to say, hey, do you know if the owner would be interested in Airbnb, is I look to see what kind of units would work well on Airbnb, and we talk about how to find the units and how to assess them and see if they make money and all that kind of stuff. But I then look to see who are the agents that have the kind of properties that I like, and I message them and saying, hi, I'm Robin, etc., etc. I see you have the kind of properties that I'm looking for. I'd love to come in and meet you so I can tell you about what I'm wanting. And in that way, I can go meet them, sit down and say, this is what I do. This is how I do it. Here are references if you want to see how I do it well. Or if you don't have that because it's your first time, you just still share this information. And then they straight away can say, yeah, that's actually good. I have a couple of landlords I can ask. And in that way, I cut straight to the chase and get direct access way quicker than just randomly, hopefully messaging someone where it's going to land. So that would be the first thing. And of course, the second way is I'm looking on the listings. If you will see nowadays, there are a significant amount of listings that look like they were used for Airbnb. You'll see the beds are all with their towels rolled and all fancy this and that. You can see straight away this isn't just a normal landlord who is like taking cell phone photographs and is trying to just rent it out. Those are perfect because often they come furnished, rent ready for Airbnb, and most likely the owner is a failed Airbnb person. So they believe in the concept, they understand it, but it was too much hassle for them. They couldn't figure out how to unlock the algorithms and make it work and make the money. And those are the gems, because you deal with those people and they're like, listen, just as long as you pay me, I understand the rest. You need to be better than I am at making this work, then I'm happy to sign this lease with you. And those actually are the best ones, because you don't have to do any work on the property. It's rent ready and you can get going as soon as possible. And the landlord already has an understanding. So there are 3 different ways to do it.
Wonderful. Great advice there. Thank you very much. Donna, you hear a lot about NSFAS in student accommodation. Is there a big enough space for private student accommodation that is not paid by NSFAS? And where would you advertise the accommodation to reach the private students?
In a big degree, I'm almost the wrong person to ask that question. The reason being that in Bloemfontein, the demographic of the student has changed here. 95% plus of the students that attend tertiary institutions in Bloemfontein are NSFAS students. So I don't have any private students that live with me. I do, however, believe other universities, such as Potchefstroom, Stellenbosch, Cape Town, might be areas where private students would be more than what they are here in Bloemfontein. And what I found prior to the big change in the demographic in the students here in Bloemfontein, that word of mouth was always the best way for me to get my properties out to the private students, because I also wanted some sort of referral. So word of mouth would be good. And what I also did was that I made sure that I had a very strong and a very big presence on social media. And not just in general. It doesn't mean, it comes down to what Robin said earlier. It doesn't mean they or the people. They've got to know about you. So you've got to make sure that you get onto platforms and areas where you will be seen and are advertised. What I would do is I would literally ask some of my tenants in my places to leave reviews in person, and sometimes even take videos and load these reviews on the social media to ensure that I get out in the space that people are seen. In the end, I feel you've got to be the Aquafresh or the Colgate of student accommodation if compared to toothpaste. You've got to make sure that you're in the space, in their face the whole time continuously, that they don't want to look for accommodation at another place.
Okay, great. No, thank you. I'm coming back to you, Robin, and we'll get to you also a little bit later, Darren, at the end as well. We'll give everybody their little wrap up. I can't believe where the time disappeared. We're almost at the bewitching hour, but there's another. Let's deal with a couple of Airbnb questions, and we'll give you all a chance just to do your final wrap. If you sublet the property for purposes of Airbnb, do you need to specify that in the rental agreement with the landlord or the owner of the property? Do you need to specify that you are going to use it for Airbnb?
So most certainly, this is all legit. It's above board. The traditional lease out there says that you may not sublet the property unless with the written permission from the landlord. So get it. And I have that in the in my leases where I say that the landlord gives written permission for using this unit and being listed on short-term platforms such as Airbnb and Booking.com, and that sorts that out.
Okay, great. I'm not sure who asked the question regarding the shower solution. Who was that? Who brought up the shower solution? Does anyone?
That was Robin.
Robin, do you want to mention?
Oh, I'm going to have to dig in and see where it is. It's a magic solution. It's like, because it controls your water usage in a student house, and I'll have to have a look to see where it is and what they're company.
Okay, awesome. No, great stuff. Gentlemen, I can't believe it's a bewitching hour. And, I'm going to ask each one of you just to give your final wrap, starting with you, Darren, maybe parting shots. I mean, there's some people here who are already in the game. There's some people who are not in the game. There's some people who want to get into the game. So, so maybe just leave people some thoughts, some, parting shots, some take homes that they could use. Starting with you, Darren, do you want to do that?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Neil, for having me. I really appreciate it. I
Absolute
just want to let everybody know my book, Fell Into My Success, is out. You can get it via Neil, the rating as well.
REI.co.za. Absolutely, yes.
If you haven't started in property yet, it's not too late. But as I mentioned earlier, you need a good foundation. My life changed when I read Jason's book, Robert Kiyosaki's book, and I'm pretty sure your life will change when you read my book as well. Fell Into My Success deals with the hardship, but also gives you the pathway to success as well. And I'll show you how I flipped properties and how easy it is. So yeah, I wish everybody well, and I hope you guys get a copy of the book. It's a must read. We're getting awesome feedback from our readers, and you will hear about it more shortly. And thank you so much, Neil, for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So for those of the people who don't know, you can go to the rei.co.za website, and you can just click onto education. There's a drop down there called books, and it's 300 rands for the book. We'll ensure you'll get it delivered through to you. A very good book, and really great insights there from Darren. We've really had an interview. I've read the book with him, and it really is insightful. For those of you looking for more knowledge, more information, please go to the rei.co.za website. Buy that book. It's critically important. Robin, over to you. Your final parting shots.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate what I mentioned about providing solutions, whether it's solutions that allow you to live for free, to live in a better place that you want to, or create a portfolio of rent to generate cash flow, which when you then have the cash flow, it increases your affordability, and you can then go and buy properties as well. So you don't have to take on extra jobs. You can actually just have an Airbnb portfolio income that increases your affordability to increase your assets, as Robert Kiyosaki would say, right? Because you're owning that asset. And of course, you can actually go and hear that story, liveforfree.co.za. It's just a free presentation that shows how you could use various ways of Airbnb to make it work, from granny flats to farm units to rooms in a house to whole units. I just share a whole lot of examples there. So liveforfree.co.za. It's the story of how I started. And I really do believe that when you open to the possibility of what could be for you in your life, everything starts to line up and helps you to get there.
Wonderful. I think it's once again so refreshing from you, Robin. I think in the future we must do an Airbnb focused webinar, and so going forward we'll absolutely doing that. Next week we're actually doing one on student accommodation, of which Dana would also be present. So Dana, you maybe share, because Mil Daniels asked the question on NSFAS payments, and we've got some other experts here, and you said you're the wrong person. Well, we got Rita, because I know she deals with that, and I also know there's also a witness from DACA who also deals with it, but there's also other experts as well. So we will deal with that then. So Donna, just your final parting shots, your final thoughts to the audience. As I say, come back next week to see Donna at 12 to 1 with student accommodation.
Thanks, Neil. I want to start off by reiterating what Darren said, that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years back. The second best time is today. It's never too late to start investing in property. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. It was an honor for me to be on this panel today. And if I reflect back on my journey since winning the Investor of the Year award in 2019, I'm reminded of the impact we can have on our communities through thoughtful investment. Back then, I emphasized the importance of community contributions and the changes we can bring about. I was inspired by the Springbok slogan in the 2019 World Cup win, "Stronger Together." As individual South Africans, it's crucial that we continue to instill hope and positivity in our fellow citizens, much like the Springboks did in the 2023 title defense. I must also say that with the new government of national unity, there's a renewed sense of optimism in our country's future. Prosperity investment remains a cornerstone for our nation's long-term prosperity. I encourage everyone to participate in the Investor of the Year competition. Showcase your talents. Show us your deals. Don't be afraid or shy to share what you have, because I feel that together we can drive positive change and build a brighter future for all South Africans through property. Thanks, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you, Don. I think a wonderful way to finish. I think we couldn't have asked for a better one. I mean, we got the Springboks. They're playing at Loftus this weekend against obviously the Irish team. So we wish them luck there. That's the one box that hasn't been ticked off in terms of the World Cup, but I'm sure they're going to do exceptionally well. I think it's a great piece of inspiration to sort of finish off there. So for those of you who want to find out more from Donna, he'll be back next week on the student accommodation session that we've got. And I want to thank you, Donna. I want to thank you, Robin.
Thank you,
And I
Neil.
want to thank you, Darren, for today. And just before we close, I want to remind our audience, as I mentioned, our next webinar is next Thursday. It's from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's called Unlocking Profitable Investments into Student Accommodation in South Africa. To register, you can either go to the rei.co.za website, or you just click on, there has a link that is in the chat box already to register for that. It's all free. And I mean, you're really getting golden nuggets of information from these guys. And in future, want to do something in both affordable, with you, Darren, and also definitely with Airbnb, Robin, going forward. So wonderful. Really, really, really great insights from all of you. Then lastly, two things. Obviously, one is the Investor of the Year competition. It's going to be live, as I mentioned, the 14th, Saturday, the 14th September. As Donna said, he encourages you to enter. I encourage you to enter as well. Kali, do you want to maybe just give them some more? Where do they enter? Is it still open? Where do they buy tickets
Yes.
again?
Yes, everything is on the website. It is in the chat box, and I think you can also just put it in the chat box and the Q&A. You can still enter, but entries close at the 31st of July. It's going to be on the 14th of September in Houghton. We are still judging, so please, please, please enter. It doesn't matter, as Robin mentioned, it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or you're a big, a player in the game. Literally, properties for everybody, and that's what we try to show and reward. So go to all of our socials or to go to our website, which is www.investoroftheyearaward.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Kali. I'm excited. And that's going to be something really special. And I mean, I know we met few of the new investors. I was also very lucky to be on the judging panel this year. And I must say, I was really impressed by the quality of investors out there. Really, really, really incredible. So I really look forward to this year's awards as well. And so reminder, just on the Reside Summit, this is a live event which is happening in Johannesburg. There's the InvestorCon, which Andrew Walker, I'm sure, Kali, you're going to be there as well.
Yes.
So that's a live event. It's from Tuesday the 16th until Friday the 19th. There's an InvestorCon. It takes on Tuesday the 16th to Wednesday the 17th of July. Sandton Convention Center, ladies, if you're in Johannesburg. I encourage you all to be there. Great for networking. Robin will be there. Kali will be there. I don't know whether Donna will be there. I'm sure. I don't know whether Darren will be there, but I'm sure they will make a plan to get there. InvestorCon, which is Tuesday the 16th, Wednesday the 17th from 6 p.m. You just go to resideconference.co.za. You can get that. Then there's also the conference for 2 days from 8 to 5. The Reside Awards, which is all to do with property development and PropTech awards. And so that's also going to be on Thursday evening, the 19th, and it's going to be hosted by myself, Neil Peterson. I will be that. I'll be your host for that particular evening. And then Friday, I'm also going to be chairing the RE Tech Conference, which takes place from 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock. That's Friday, 19th of July, Sandton Convention. And we got the best of PropTech in South Africa. I encourage you to be there. Don't miss his event. There's a 50% discount. You just click on Reside Conference, REI 2024 to make your booking. You get a 50% discount. You just go either to the rei.co.za website, or you just go to Reside Conference and you just book and drop in REI 2024 and you will get your 50% discount. So we mentioned all the wonderful events. It's been fantastic. You've been a wonderful audience. Always appreciate your active participation, your engagement, and we hope you got the knowledge, but also the inspiration that you also act on all these very special property investment rock stars. Really, there are rock stars, guys, and you can be there too. As Donna said, you could also be one of them. I mean, and just imagine this growth, you know, the exceptional growth period that you go through just from this whole being an investor of the year. So it's a massive opportunity for you to grow. So until next time, stay informed, stay proactive. May your ventures in the world of real estate be fruitful and fulfilling. Take care and goodbye from our panel, from Kali, from Donna, from Darren, and from Robin. Take care. Goodbye until